Good morning. This is the Morning News on WSBA, the Wednesday morning edition, hour number 3. It's your turn to make the call. I'm Gary Sutton.
And I'm Chris Tyler.
WSBA News Time is 8:10. Well, under the title of We Should Never, Ever Forget, we've got people here in York County who have given a full measure of service for not only us, but for our country. And, we're doing a lot right now for Christmas Magic for Matt Haynes.
Right.
And we appreciate, by the way, everybody helping out up there. But another gentleman who is here in York County, lives in the Red Lion School District, and actually right there in Red Lion, is Ryan Walton. And he's 27 years old. This is a young man that has served our country in a lot of different ways. At age 27, has probably done more with his life than most of us ever dream in terms of our lifetime. Yeah. And he joins us here on the Morning News this morning. Ryan, an honor to have you with us. Good morning to you.
Morning, Gary. Chris, how you doing?
Doing very well. And you and I had a nice chat the other night, and I've read a lot of the stories about you, but when I say you've lived a full life here to the age of 27 right now, that might be the understatement of the year, right?
I would say so. I mean, there's a lot of people out there as well who've given the ultimate sacrifice and who've given just as much as I have as well, but that's pretty much how I feel and how my body's telling me I feel right now, too, at this time. So,
Ryan, you have an injury that was incurred in Iraq. Tell us a little bit about how that all came about, and because that kind of figures into a whole lot of things we're going to talk about today.
Well, I mean, other than I was blown up while I was in Iraq, had an incident there which played a role in it. But there was one incident, and I'm not going into too much detail, but we were on a recovery mission one day going out and we were retrieving a vehicle. We were called out to pick up, and I had stepped out of the passenger seat. And as I was getting down, there was about a 5-foot hole. It was a blast hole covered with dust, and the dust was almost so fine it was just like powdered sugar almost was in there, but it was the color of sand, and you couldn't even tell it was there. And I jumped down in it, and basically my right leg went down in the hole. And I basically went down on my side, and my left leg stayed on solid ground. And when I did that, I could just feel almost every disc in my back all the way up through my neck just clap together. I mean, it was an unbelievable feeling. It was a feeling I would never want anybody to feel, but it was a pretty scary situation.
I believe I read somewhere, too, you had 70 pounds of stuff on your back at that particular point in time, too.
Yes. I had my flak vest on, had 6 magazines of ammo, had my water bag on my back. I had, obviously, the Kevlar on my head and helmet, and like you said, 70 pounds of gear. It was just unbelievable. So
moving forward then, you obviously, with the back problems and so forth, I guess at that particular point you were somewhat limited, right?
Yes, I was actually very limited when I got home. I was actually at one point given the opportunity in Iraq to come home, but I didn't want to leave my guys over there. I had formed a bond with them, a brotherhood with those guys, and I couldn't turn my back on them. In fact, it was something a lot of us did, but the guys who were severely injured did go home. I myself didn't find myself to be that way, but yes, when I got home, I was limited. I had a few surgeries when I got home, just gallbladder surgery, things like that, but never really on my back. They kind of were looking past that as looking at other parts of my knee and things like that as part of the injury, but it never was that. It was always my back was the problem.
So what is the current condition of your back?
I have stenosis of the spine, bulging discs, severe degenerative disc disease. Basically, I don't know the scientific term for it, the medical term, but the fluid between my spine is actually thinning, and excuse me, my spine is actually becoming more and more like packed down on itself towards the L4, L5, towards the tailbone.
And obviously that affects, and I can speak for a little experience, having had a bulging disc here the last year, that starts to affect the nerves down in your legs. And so I understand you can walk, but, your legs can go out at any point in time, right?
Right. My legs have actually gone out numerous times. In fact, that is what's put me in the hospital a lot of times. And, speaking on that, I've had more than probably 20 to 25 admissions, it seems like, over the past year. And I know that sounds like a lot to some people, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, my legs before I had a procedure done just gave out at any time. And now, now I almost had it down to, I could tell when they were about to go out. Now it's like I can't tell. Yeah. And in fact, the nerves in my back now have gotten so bad, they've now pinched down on the, basically preventing me to go to the restroom, we'll say. Yeah. So, and that's an extremely tough thing to deal with now is having to have those, deal with that every day on top of everything else. And, if I wouldn't be for my wife, honestly, I don't think I'd even survive. I mean, I have to be somewhere special, like some type of home, because my wife, she's just been there for me the whole time. And, her name's Crystal, and she's just been, I met her in Texas, and she's just been an amazing, amazing part of my life. And I love her so much for everything she's done for me. So.
We're talking with veteran Ryan Walton here this morning, and he will take your calls if you'd like to talk to him along the way here and ask him questions. 1-800-357-0910. But you get home from the war in Iraq, and you probably faced a mission that you never, ever would have thought you would have faced because you were stationed at Fort Hood, right?
Yes. On November 5th, I was actually... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Gary.
2009, right?
Yes, 2009. I was out. It was actually my day off. I had just come off a 24-hour CQ shift because the guys were training out in the field to go to Iraq. And with me just having my gallbladder surgery, I wasn't able to go out. I just come off a 24-hour office CQ shift is what they were called. And I offered up to give some more of my time the next day to my sergeant. So we were going down the base to take care of some errands real quick. And, I just immediately saw people covered in blood, and I jumped out of the van, and he jumped out with me. Obviously it wasn't moving. But we got out of the van, and right then and there we ran up the field, and I shouldn't have been doing any of this because, I have a gallbladder, but I didn't even notice any pain. And immediately right there, I was inside in the middle of the Fort Hood shooting, inside the shooting room.
Yeah, the so-called Fort Hood massacre. So you're getting out of your truck, you're heading. You see all these people blood spattered in the middle of an army base there, and you're going, "My God, what's happening?" But you don't even really have a chance to do that, right? You just go start helping.
Right. And at first, honestly, the initial thing was when I was running up, I was hoping that it was just a mass casualty exercise where they were training and doing something, but it was totally the opposite of that. When I first ran into the shooting room, I was first under my boots. I could feel my boots rolling around, and they were rolling underneath my boots were some mostly shot, but some unshot hollow point rounds that I noticed. And when I first got inside the shooting room, it was unlike anything I've ever seen, and the smell of metal from the blood and things like that.
You run in. Were you aware that there was still shooting going on? I mean, and what do you remember seeing there?
I remember seeing and it was pretty upsetting, the officers, the doctors, running out the back door, and a lot of enlisted guys running in the back door. I remember hearing, the pop going off outside. But at that point, he had already cleared through the room that I was in, and I just immediately went hands-on and was feeling for signs of life, things like that. I felt like I took a longer break in the beginning before I got to work, but my sergeant said, "No, you didn't even break. It's just you went right in." And then he attempted to throw me a pair of gloves for obviously bloodborne pathogen protection, and it was already too late for that. I had already, I was already...
you were right in the midst of helping at that point.
Right.
You received a meritorious service award for that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and again, thank you for your service in those moments, too. We're going to go to some calls here. We've got Don in Ortana, who's been waiting this morning. You're welcome to call, too, and speak with Ryan Walton, 1-800-357-0910. Don, good morning. It's your turn to make the call with Ryan Walton. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, Ryan. Thank you for your service. I just had a couple of questions. Are you still active duty?
No, actually, after the Fort Hood shooting, I was immediately through a med board process where I was given the retirement option, which I had to take. I mean, my body was, at that point, was just, I would say, trashed. I don't mean to use that word, but it's what it was. And so they started me through that, so I am actually retired from the Army now.
Oh,
medically retired from the Army.
Well, I was just wondering, are you able to tell us about, were you the victim sort of like of rules of engagement during that incident? My boy is he's in the service, and he was telling us that the rules of engagement are kind of really difficult for the soldiers because they're simply not allowed to fire until they've actually been shot at.
Yes. In Iraq, we had rules, and we were briefed pretty much before every mission that even if we saw something that in Iraq would set us off, and, basically that feeling in your gut where you're like, wait, that guy's a gun, he's looking at me. So he shot at our truck or did something like that. We could not fire. We could not do anything. And that just, I don't want to say drove me nuts, but I mean, it did in a sense. I mean, because you know you're about, and honestly, I mean, I'll just say it. I don't care what recoils from it. We could have saved a lot of lives over there if we did not have some of those rules. And that's the unfortunate thing is, and that's me speaking the truth from what I saw. But yes, Don, you're absolutely right with what you say on that. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate your call this one. Let's get Otis in Lewisberry. Otis, you're with Ryan Walton. It's your turn to make the call. Go ahead.
Hey, man, I just wanted to say thanks a lot for serving. But as far as the pain, I had cancer a few years ago, so I understand pain. And I just want to tell you that just keep going. I understand it's like a battle every day to deal with something like that and to go through those type of issues, especially at your age. Because at my age, I never thought my body would be like this. So I just wanted to say, I'll keep you in prayer and just keep going. And thanks a lot for serving. It's a wonderful thing you've done.
Otis, thank you so much, Otis. Appreciate it. Ryan, you came home. We've heard a lot about PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and obviously after what you went through at Fort Hood, that certainly had an effect on you, right?
Yes. Especially after the Fort Hood shooting, that was the one time that I really noticed it. Is just the nightmares. I mean, I every night now, I mean, it's like I have nightmares of fiery crashes and just I wake up, it's just in sweat. Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, all my nightmares are like action packed. I feel like I'm in the middle of an action movie every night I go to sleep sometimes, and it's just there's a lot of fire, explosions, crashes, things like that. Just that I don't see specifically, but for some reason I can just feel it going on, and it's just the oddest thing. And if I'm abruptly woke up, I jump up scared and things like that, and it's just it's a very, very tormenting thing to go through.
I would dare say you're talking about a lot of things that maybe a lot of soldiers go through right now that a lot of us don't understand, and we want to understand more. Ryan, one of the things that you and I were talking on the phone the other night, and you said to me that you were still troubled by how the whole massacre at Fort Hood was classified. I think a lot of Americans may share your feeling, but tell us a little bit about your thoughts.
I just recognized what I first saw when I went in that room, and it was worse than anything I saw in a war zone, first of all. And for those soldiers to be, unprotected, unarmed, and first of all, have no idea that was even happening. I mean, that to me just comes out flat out as a terrorist attack in itself.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to go into, it's obviously been put out in the news and things, but
as workplace violence, right, I think was the way it was classified.
Right, workplace violence. But it pretty much sets aside what any benefits those soldiers could have in the future.
Right.
I mean, the victims that are still alive, are dealing, some of them are still in the military, but, they're going to deal with that for the rest of their lives, just like I'm dealing with Iraq and just what I've gone through at the Fort Hood shooting with, my injuries just from that day itself with carrying, I had 2 bodies on my shoulders at one time, just taking them out. And I wasn't able to perform that day if it wasn't for being a volunteer firefighter before I even went into the Army with Yo Fire Company. So, I thank them down there for their training and what they taught me. But honestly, at the end of the day, I mean, they had no idea that was happening. They just saw a man walk in the door and then just open fire. And I think, how is that any different than me driving down in Merez in Iraq and a bomb goes off or that somebody starts opening fire?
Right.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen over there, and it happens. So, I mean, for those soldiers to be attacked the way they did, why shouldn't they be protected under the same rules as if it was overseas? Now, had that have happened in Kuwait or something like that?
Not even a question.
So talk about the services you have received since you came home. Have there been enough of them? Have they been good enough for you? Because, we talk about the PTSD and we talk about your physical recovery. Have you found the services that you've needed?
Well, honestly, I've found more of the services, thankfully, because I have civilian insurance right now, because I've gone to the VA and here and in Florida, and they don't understand a thing that I or anybody seems is going through. There's, if it's too major, it's like they didn't want to get involved. And there was an incident where I went up to the emergency room. My wife had to drive me up to Lebanon. And because we drove 45 minutes from my house and I was in excruciating pain in my back, they actually turned us away and said it can't be that big of an emergency if you had to drive 45 minutes up here and you couldn't call an ambulance. Well, there's no ambulance in York County that's going to drive me 45 minutes to the VA.
Wow.
So obviously I have to go to York Hospital. So it's not an option for me to, when an emergent situation, go to the VA. And besides that, it's just they don't have the ability to work on my spine like some other places would around here. So, but I've received a lot of help lately from the Feed the Vets program, and that's worked on by Carol Hoffman and Kelly Little, and actually Denny Cottrell with Basement Waterproof and Leaking has actually reached out to me. And he's been doing a lot with, he's doing a donation program for 6 months, actually. And I can't thank him enough for it's basically for long-term care for me. And I'm just amazed at some of the outpouring of people here in the county. I mean, these some of the most caring, sharing people I've ever met in my life. And I'm proud to say that I am from York County. So, all in all, I have to say that the civilian side of things has been the best for my health care right now.
But the VA pretty much let you down.
Right, exactly. And unfortunately, if I was to stop my civilian care right now and go to the VA, they would stop all my pain medications. And they would start me basically at Tylenol for months, they said, and then they would start me maybe go up to Aleve or something like that, and basically go up the whole chain of medicines. And they said you would never get the medications that I'm on right now that help me with my pain, because I'm not going to say it, but because I'm not basically they did tell me because I'm not a cancer patient, things like that. I don't want to say that because I don't, want to talk anything about them, but that's what they told me to my face. And it killed me. I mean, it really hurt me. So
is PTSD something that we underestimate in terms of its damage when you get home? None of us can say, outside of veterans out there who have gone through this, and I'm sure you speak for many, going through the nightmares and going through the various things that affect you. Is it something that has been underserved by the Veterans Affairs, those kind of things? I know there are a lot of good people. Phil Palander does a great job here in York County, I know, getting out there with Veterans Affairs. But I know when you get to the VA and so forth, I don't want to say poo-pooing it all, because I'm sure they take it far more seriously than that, but are they underestimating what really is happening there?
Well, some of the issue now is they're calling it adjustment disorder, and they're not calling it PTSD. They're starting to make that change, which decreases benefits to soldiers, which is actually harmful to soldiers. But yes, anybody can have PTSD. Anybody, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, anybody. It could be anybody, but it is. I don't know that there's some people who don't understand it that I've come across, and then there's people who are experts in it and they know exactly what it is. But I think there needs to be some more education on it. But it is a very, very harmful thing. If somebody has it and they're going to a 8-hour job, a 9-to-5 job, and they don't get their right amount of sleep at night, depending on what their job is, I mean, it totally messes with your day, because you get, even if you get 8 hours of sleep, you wake up unrested. You wake up as if you never slept at night, and it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing, and I wish more people would understand that it's an unseen injury. You can't see it, and it's something that there needs to be more workup and more things done to help with it than just giving people pills and things like that. And that's the hardest part I have found, is that the pills and things like that, they don't work at all. And last kind of sad thing I did, I did that when I was first in the Army National Guard, before I went active duty Army. I went down for about 3.5 months to Yuma, Arizona, where we were on the borders of Mexicali and San Luis, and we did 24-hour 48 off shifts, and the 24-hour on, you're pretty much awake the whole time watching the borderlines. And we call, I have a paper, an award downstairs from the Air Force who I went down with, and the Army and Air Force both went down. And our team called, I can't even count the number in my head, but there's a lot of sad situations with that, because there was a lot of good families that we came across that just wanted the same that we have. They just don't have that down where they were, down in Mexico. But there was also the drug smuggling as well, and that was the part that those guys were the ones we really wanted to keep out, but unfortunately everybody had to go back. But when we caught the people with the drugs, that really took nothing off my heart. I mean, it was good to catch them and keep those things out of our country. So,
is our security, from what you've seen on the border, acceptable right now?
When I was there, I can't speak for now. But when I was there, I can tell you, Pennsylvania and the 28th Infantry Division and the folks with the Army Reserve, when we went down, we did a good job. We really did a good job down there, and we were always alert, always keeping good eyes out and things like that. We did a good job down there. As far as now, I can't speak for now, but at the time, yes, it was very good secure. We had a lot of great help from the border patrol down there, and it was a good operation that we did. So,
well, Ryan, we're helping another veteran, Matt Haynes, right now, and we're doing that Christmas Magic. We'll be up there tonight, and people have made all kinds of donations, and we're trying to help him with his service dog. And I know you're getting a service dog as well, but you got to go to Gaithersburg, Maryland. Yours is a little different situation. The dog is free, but you're traveling down there for 60 hours of training. That's right next to D.C. That's a lot of back and forth. And I know paying for gas and some of the stresses you have right now, physically and also obviously the PTSD thing, it's tough. So we're going to do something here, and I'm going to make a check out today to Ryan Walton for $250 to help get things started. And I would offer to people the chance to do the same, is make a check out to Ryan for whatever amount you could maybe help him with, and send it here to WSBA Radio in care of Gary Sutton, 5989 Susquehanna Plaza Drive in York, PA 17406, and we'll make a Merry Christmas happen for you right now during this difficult time.
Thank you so much, Gary. That means a lot to us.
Well, we have it up on Facebook, and I'm not real good at Facebook normally, as Chris well knows, but we've got it up on Facebook now. I wrote that out this morning. If you want to see that, I'm also going to put it on my blog today. The address you can send, make the check to Ryan, so you know it's coming to me simply as someone is going to pass it on to you. And we look forward to trying to help you and your family, especially during this time of the year. But we know you're getting hit with a lot of things. And again, I think you stand for so many out there who are coming back home and really adjusting and getting back here. And it's the least that we can do for people who have served our country so nobly.
Thank you so much, Gary. I really appreciate that a lot.
Ryan, we wish you the very best. Final thought. We have about 20 seconds left.
I guess I would I would just say to the soldiers out there, if you're sitting there and you feel maybe you don't want to talk or you don't want to talk to anybody, at least reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Because I for one, like I said, if I hadn't met my wife, things would have been very tough. But always just reach out to somebody and let them know how you feel. And if you don't want to talk about what you've gone through, like I did at first, then I can understand that. But just try and reach out to somebody, and somebody will always be there to talk to you. So.
Great stuff, man. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Gary.